If you have any upcoming travel plans, you need to hear this because what's happening with Iran right now is already starting to impact flights worldwide. Airlines are actively avoiding large sections of airspace, forcing flights to take longer, more expensive routes. And that's creating congestion in safer corridors across Europe and Asia, which means delays, higher ticket prices, and sudden changes to your trip. And if tensions keep rising, this could get much worse. We're talking rising flight costs, canceled routes, airspace shutdowns, and even global travel warnings being issued right now. In fact, thousands of flights have already been disrupted, and airlines are preparing for even bigger changes as fuel prices surge. So, if you have a trip planned in the next few months, or you're thinking about booking one, you need to hear this before you do anything. What you're seeing right now is how global airspace is being reshaped in real time. The red zone, covering Iran, Iraq, and parts of Syria, is where flights are actively being avoided or completely restricted. Surrounding that, this yellow region is experiencing heavy disruption with reroutes and rising congestion. So airlines are pushing north and south into these green corridors. But as more flights stack into these paths, delays and costs are increasing fast. And this is exactly how your flight could be affected. Before we get into this, you need to stay until the end of this video because one of the biggest travel risks people are completely overlooking right now could seriously mess up your trip if you don't know about it. Right now, the situation involving Iran is forcing airlines across the world to rethink how they operate, not just locally, but globally. And this isn't just about flights getting delayed, it's about entire air routes being redesigned in real time. Let's start with the most important thing, airspace. Airlines don't just fly straight lines, they rely on highly optimized corridors that are designed for fuel efficiency, safety, and traffic flow. Normally, one of the busiest and most important corridors in the world runs directly over parts of the Middle East, especially over Iran, Iraq, and surrounding regions, connecting Europe to Asia. But right now, those areas are becoming increasingly restricted or avoided entirely. That means flights that would normally pass over Iran or Iraq are now being pushed north or south. The northern reroute is the most common right now. Flights are going up through Turkey, across the Caucasus region, places like Georgia and Azerbaijan, then continuing over the Caspian Sea into Central Asia before heading toward destinations like India, Southeast Asia, or China. The problem is everyone is doing that. So now you have a massive concentration of flights all being funneled into a much smaller amount of safe airspace. This creates congestion, not just in the sky, but in how air traffic control has to manage spacing between aircraft. Planes can't just fly wherever they want. They have to maintain strict separation distances. So when too many flights stack into the same corridor, airlines are forced to delay departures or slow aircraft mid-route, and this is where it starts to affect you directly. Longer routes mean more fuel. More fuel means higher operating costs. And airlines don't just absorb that, they pass it on to passengers. So ticket prices, especially for long-haul international flights, can start rising quickly. We're already seeing this impact routes between Europe and Asia the most. Flights from cities like London, Paris, or Frankfurt heading to destinations like Bangkok, Dubai, or Singapore are having to take longer paths, sometimes adding 1 to 3 hours of flight time depending on the route. And that extra time doesn't just mean you land later. It can cause missed connections, it can throw off tight layovers, and in some cases, airlines are even proactively canceling routes that are no longer efficient or safe to operate. Now let's talk about the southern routes because some airlines are trying to avoid congestion by going the opposite direction. Instead of going north, they're routing flights further south, over Saudi Arabia, the Arabian Sea, and sometimes even detouring closer to Egypt or East Africa before heading back toward Asia. This sounds like a solution, but it comes with its own problems. these routes are longer, less efficient, and also starting to get crowded. So now you have two main alternative corridors, north and south, both becoming more congested by the day. And here's something most people don't realize: airspace restrictions can change overnight. If tensions escalate, or if new regions become unsafe, airlines may have to make last minute decisions. That's when you see flights delayed on the runway, diverted midair, or even turned around entirely. And if you're traveling during that time, you're the one dealing with rebookings, long airport waits, and unexpected itinerary changes. Now, here's where it gets even more serious. Cargo flights, which carry a huge portion of global goods, are being affected too. So this isn't just about your flight, it can impact shipping, supply chains, and even availability of certain goods in different regions. Everything is connected. But the biggest issue, and the one almost nobody is paying attention to, is how quickly this situation can escalate. Right now, airlines are adapting. They're finding new paths, adjusting schedules, and managing the risk. But if things intensify, we could see much larger portions of airspace restricted. And that's when travel disruption goes from inconvenient to chaotic. Flights could be grounded, major hubs could get overwhelmed, and rebooking options could become extremely limited. So if you have travel coming up, especially international, you need to be paying attention to this situation, because what's happening right now isn't just another news story. It's actively reshaping how planes move around the world, and that directly affects you. And at the end of the day, the difference between a smooth trip and a stressful one might come down to whether you saw this coming or didn't. If you've made it this far, here's what actually matters: what you should do right now if you're flying in or around this region. First, let's talk about routes that are still safe and largely unaffected. Flights moving west of the Middle East, especially through Egypt and North Africa, are still operating normally. Routes going north through Turkey, the Caucasus, and Central Asia are currently the most stable alternatives airlines are using. So if your flight is being rerouted, that's actually a good sign. It means airlines are actively avoiding risk zones, not canceling outright. Now, if you're flying between Europe and Asia, expect one thing: longer flight times. Flights that used to go directly over Iran or Iraq are now being pushed north or south, adding anywhere from 45 minutes to 2+ hours. That also means higher fuel costs and potentially more expensive tickets in the coming weeks. Now, here's where you need to pay attention. If your route involves Iran, Iraq, Israel, Syria, or nearby airspace, there's a high chance of last-minute reroutes, delays, or full cancellations depending on how things escalate. So what should you actually do? First, check your airline app daily, not once, not the day before, daily. Routes are changing fast. Second, avoid tight layovers. If your connection is under 2 hours, you're taking a real risk right now. Third, consider rebooking through safer hubs. Look for connections through places like Istanbul, Cairo, Doha, or even rerouting further north if needed. These are acting as major bypass corridors right now. And finally, if your flight is critical, like business, events, or time-sensitive travel, you might want to move it up or delay it entirely depending on how this develops. Because this situation isn't just affecting one country, it's reshaping one of the busiest air corridors in the world. And we're already seeing the ripple effects spread globally. So stay alert, check your routes, and don't assume your flight path is the same as it was even a week ago. Because right now, in aviation, everything is changing in real time. This situation is changing fast. So if you want real updates without the noise, hit subscribe now and share this video with anyone traveling soon, because their route might already be affected.